All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday and another edition of our legal case management jam session. I'm here again with Casita Simpson, founder of Simpson and Associates. She helps law firms with outsourced paralegal services, and also most relevant to our topic today, helping law firms find the right technology for them and getting that all set up and implemented. My name is Emery Wager. I'm one of the founders of Confido Legal. We are an integrated payments system specifically designed for law firms. So we interact with a lot of legal case management systems, see a lot of legal case management systems, and love talking about that world and helping lawyers find the right system for them. So the topic for today, super relevant to us, and I'm very excited to be here with Casita to talk about it. You may fall into one of two categories. You either love the software that you have at your firm, or you hate the software that you have at your firm. And it's possible, because we've seen it, it is possible to be in that love category. And we are going to talk today about how do you know if things are not going well, how do you know you have the wrong system and what to do about it. So you may think, oh, I'm just picky. I need to live with this. I'll never find the right thing. It's possible, but there are firms out there, as I mentioned, who do love their systems. So it is possible that you could also get to that place. So with that, I'll turn it over to Casita and kind of pose the question to her, because she's seen so many law firms, helped so many law firms set up the right technology, find the right technology. What are some signs that you truly do have the wrong system for your firm at the stage of growth that firm is in?
Yeah, I think that actually, before I even go into that, what I want to say that because it's really funny, is that there is a difference between loving your system because it's working well and you just love it, and loving your system because you're loyal to it, because you're married to it. They're very different. Just because you're married to it and you love it doesn't mean that it's working to the best efficiency or you're using it to its full capacity and potential. So I want to make sure I say that
Mhm.
as well, because I've noticed both. I've seen people that are literally glued to a system, and I'm like, if you were able to just loosen the reins with this, I guarantee you probably find something that you liked better, that you weren't forcing different pieces to work, right? So in one of our previous sessions, we talked about fragmented systems and how people are just like forcing things to work together. And it's like, if that's happening, then yeah, we should probably be doing something different, because if you're feeling any kind of strain or angst when you're doing things or you're working through your processes, to maybe it's something as simple as locating an email for a specific matter, and you are having issues with that, then yeah, that's a different kind of conversation. And you should definitely be figuring out how to minimize that or make a change fast. Outside of that, it's just really like, what are you using it for? Like, what is,
Mhm.
because the reality is not a lot of firms are using these systems to the fullest capacity and its full potential. There are
Mhm.
areas that they're leaving on the table, and sometimes it's features that have been around for a while or it's new features. So I usually take a start, even in my consultations, to ask, okay, so what are you using in your CRM? What is your favorite things about your CRM? And depending on what they say, I'm like, okay, well, why? Why do you like these things? And if they say something that makes sense, then I'm like, okay, well, what don't you like? And potentially sometimes the list is pretty long. And it's like, okay, well, you have these things that you love, but listen to everything that you told me that's an area of opportunity. How is your team feeling about this? How are your clients feeling about this? If you're utilizing the client portal and your clients are complaining about the inability to access the client portal, that may be a pretty big indicator that it may be time to divorce that system and find a different one.
Mhm.
Maybe it's something where your team is trying to find status updates to relay information to a client and they can't find the information. That's an issue. because what you never want is to be in an instance where the people that are supporting you can't support you effectively because of a system.
Mhm.
So, it's all about making sure that the right processes are in place and the right things are in place, but it's also to ensure that whatever we're putting in place is also accessible and easily reachable for not only the staff but also the clients too. I mentioned clients because there are people who really utilize systems that advocate to having client portals for due to security and privacy and compliance and just sensitivity of information. And so I noticed that with that, even in a recent consultation that I had, she mentioned that her clients were complaining about accessing the portal, and whether it was on the web version or the mobile version, whatever it was, they were just having serious issues with being able to access it. And so those are some areas where it's like if you're having issues with client onboarding, if you're having issues with the client portal, if you're having issues sending out documents for e-signature using your client portals or sending out invoices, or maybe you're having issues with billing. If these are big issues, because look, truthfully, all of these things are staples to running a firm. If these things are at issue, you may be wanting to look into making some changes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said something interesting in kind of the lead up to this, but thinking about the evolution of your firm and what changes have happened. Maybe you expanded into a new practice area, or you grew your client base, or a big one that you mentioned would be growing your team. All of a sudden, a system that was working really well for you personally didn't support a growing team. So looking for those inflection point in the evolution of your firm and using that as a mental prompt to see, is my system ready for this new practice area, this new team member, this new team, this new set of clients. So yeah, super interesting to be thinking about how the system that you were really loyal to previously maybe isn't the right one to take you to the next phase of your firm's evolution.
And it really also is important to consider, and sometimes I know it's hard because of depending on where you're starting out, but it's really important to consider where you want the future of your firm to be. Like, how do you want it to grow? Sometimes that might not be visible. You might not know that right away going into it, opening up the business. But the moment that you realize where you want to end up, how you want this firm to flow and run, you want to make sure that the moment that you have that set in stone, you take a look at your systems, you take a look at your processes, you take a look at all the things that make scaling or fulfilling that vision, that goal, that dream, whatever it is, happen. You have the right resources to be able to support that, because that's huge. Huge. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with clients where they start out with one system and they end up having to transition to something else.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's as simple as budget. They've expanded the team so much and the rate of the expansion of the team. And yes, they're bringing in funds, but also the CRM costs per license has probably increased, or maybe the CRM itself went through a price change. And so maybe you had legacy pricing, but by adding more people, now you have to be, you're not grandfathered into that legacy pricing anymore. And so these are all other potential areas that could make one person or make a firm segue from one thing to another. And the other thing I would say too is that don't be afraid to transition. Don't be afraid to leave something that's no longer serving you. I feel like so much time is spent. I've seen it. Literally seen so much time being spent on trying to force something to work instead of just giving it up. Yes, it will be probably a learning curve, but that's why companies like mine exist. That's why we're here, to be able to support and train and offer that level of support. I've seen where the CRM, the account rep will get you going, will do the demo, will onboard you and get things set up for you. And then you're on your own. And you may not even really have a full understanding of how to use it. That's okay. You can reach out to companies like myself and just have someone support you in that way. It's not a big deal. But holding yourself or pigeoning yourself to a system that like literally is not benefiting you or not allowing you to scale, all because of the fear of the unknown of transitioning, I don't think it's worth it. I don't
Mhm.
think it's worth your time. I don't think it's worth your finances, because at the end of the day, you're still paying for a system that isn't even meeting the mark.
Yeah. No system is going to be perfect. And there might be an attorney out there who is maybe a little bit too, the standard might just be a little bit too high for any system. How do you know if you're in that place where you're just being too, you're looking for perfection, you're being too picky, versus no, these are real issues and I need to actually look at a new system?
I think that's more of a case by case thing. I've had a situation to where someone reached out and I had been working with them, and they transitioned from me implementing to me maintaining their system. So quarterly, I would reach out and say, hey, like, I've either noticed these things and we should change them, or I didn't really notice anything. Do you have anything that you would want to see maintained? And sometimes some things that they'll say, oh, the system used to do this, but now it's not doing it. And I want it. And it's like, okay, but the system can't really do this anymore. That's not a real thing. You're being picky. You need to manage your expectations. But if it's something like, I can't find this email, I can't update my client on their matter, I can't actually send a secure message or send a text message to my client, I can't generate this document because it's not working. The appointment scheduling link inside of the system that I use to send out my calendar invites to new clients or to prospects is not working. These are real issues. If it's a fundamental system issue, like it's literally prohibiting you from getting something done, that is a real issue. Because how many times, and you could even answer this, Emery, how many times have you sat there and played with something because it was just acting up? I remember personally, Loom, I was recording a video for a client and Loom was down. And I spent about an hour trying to force it to work before I realized that it was just down.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah.
happened. That's different than someone just being nitpicky and saying, I want this field to do this, or I want this. If it's prohibiting you from doing your job and now you're spending valuable time that could be spent with a client to fix this issue, no. No.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something just now that I wanted to speak on. It's like when you were talking about no system being perfect and every system having issues potentially. I think about it like dating, right? And so you'll date a bunch of people, right? And maybe you'll find this one person and they may not be perfect, but they perfectly fit you. They perfectly
Mhm.
fit, they match you where it matters the most. The core foundation of who you are is aligned with this person. So their
Mhm.
characteristic flaws, you can forego that because the foundation of what you guys both want to, out of life is similar and it's aligned. Same thing with the
Mhm.
system. As long as the core things of what you need it for are there, it's okay if certain things potentially sometimes break down. There's always a workaround. There's always some kind of solution. I was working on something for a client in HubSpot, and he was trying to get something very simple to happen, but it was broken down in terms of HubSpot locks it. Like you can't make that change. And I was like, there has to be another way to make this happen for him without having to create like some crazy thing or upgrade his account or expand his spending and add more to his license. And I figured it out through a workflow. We were able to create that workaround and now he's happy. But it's really that simple. Sometimes if a feature has gone away, because CRMs, they do whatever they want. Features get added, features get removed, and you just have to kind of be flexible a
Mhm.
little. Yeah. Just like dating.
I love it. Dating versus finding the right case management system. Similar.
I mean, I did say married, divorced.
Yeah.
It's really because you're tied to it to an extent.
Mhm.
This is literally how you are able to practice the law and run your business. It's
Yeah.
the foundation in the back end, that support in the back end.
Mhm. Yeah. Interesting. What maybe you've invested in an all-in-one kind of system that does, CRM, it does case management, and then maybe even it has an accounting suite. So you've kind of like combined all three of those sort of major software requirements into one system. What are some situations where maybe you have that system and you want to say the accounting the system isn't really working for you, what would cause you to recommend to a law firm to swap, maybe not use that accounting module and use something like QuickBooks, for example, versus doing a full kind of rip and replace and trying to find a new all-in-one system?
I would do exactly what you just said. I would use third party like integration. So depending on the case management system, there are systems that integrate with QuickBooks, with Zero, with the different accounting softwares, the popular ones that are out there. So if you're noticing that your internal structure with this system when it comes to accounting is lacking, check to see if your system offers straight shot integration between your CRM and the pay QuickBooks and Zeros of the world, so to speak.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that
Mhm.
there's like a way to connect the two, because then you can just do that. Some systems do have like charter accounts and you're able to do really great reporting to be able to pull that information. And maybe that's more than sufficient for you. And you can just do the integration with like a QuickBooks and have all of your funding living there, but you still process invoices and everything through the
Mhm.
system. That would be my recommendation. If it's one thing and we can figure out a workaround for it, then I would more so do that. I know I've been talking about transitioning and being okay but open to transitioning, but that's never really my first recommendation. My first recommendation is try to make it work. And
Mhm.
depending on what it is, use third party resources like system integrations naturally. Like, for example, QuickBooks, or like maybe you're doing scheduling and you use Calendly, and maybe, like I had just said, the system has appointment scheduling and maybe that's broken down and it's not working. Incorporate an integration with Calendly. If it is really something where it's causing issues and you're trying to make something work, maybe you even need to incorporate Zapier and use
Mhm.
that to make the two speak to each other. Systems like Locus and Clio and my case, they naturally have some of those accounting things embedded in it. Even HubSpot, they have a lot of different really cool integrations that make things work together. So you do have options. I'm always wanting to pick the solution that isn't an additional cost to the firm. So I'm always trying to find ways to do things that will not incur the firm to spend more money. So maybe
Mhm.
it's using a free account on Zapier. Maybe it's seeing if the system has natural integrations that you're not, doing a heavy spend on. If you're new to QuickBooks and you've never used it, I will sometimes even connect you with someone that I know that uses QuickBooks to be able to benefit from a discount or something. Like, just trying to find ways to close the loop, because you're already spending a hefty penny already for the system. And I'm never trying to make the firm spend more money if they don't need to. In fact, I try to find ways to make them save money as much as I possibly can. That's a part of the consultation. I ask different questions about what they're using. And if I know that their system already does the same thing, then I'm usually recommending right in that consultation that they get rid of that system, either before we start working together or once I start making the improvements that they have outlined, to get rid of that so that it's no longer an issue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're getting close to time here.
Always too fast. Always.
I think some takeaways I have is, yes, you can really love the system that you're working in, but making sure that you're identifying what are the fundamental things that my firm needs to deliver, and does the software help me deliver on those things, or is one of those things broken? And if one or more of those things is broken, it's time to look for a new system, and keeping an eye out for major changes in the firm, new practice areas, new clients, new growth. And that could be a potential time when one of those fundamental things will break. And so keeping a good eye out for those situations. And that could be the situation where, as you mentioned, a system that you were very dedicated and loyal to is no longer the right thing for you. So,
Yeah, it's a tough situation, because on one hand, you could be moving really quickly and like, you know what, this isn't working, and just get rid of something really fast without giving it a fair chance. And on the other hand, you could be giving something too much of a chance and it's just really not working. It's like
yeah.
no And we talked about this too, that it's one of those things that sometimes you don't know until you've worked with a couple of systems and you've tried certain things out and you're like,
Mhm.
now you have the experience of what it's like to even use a case management system. And you're like, okay, now that I've used one, I know all the things that my system needs to have. I
Mhm.
know all the things that are necessary for me to be able
Mhm.
to run this firm properly. And that's okay too. It's your firm. It's your business. This is your baby. So it makes sense to be closely in tune with what's going on and the shifts that are happening and being able to navigate them and being proactive. I'm a firm believer in being as proactive as you possibly can, which is why I say if you can think about future use of the system, growing what that looks like for your firm, it allows you to be more proactive and stay ahead of the game and
Mhm.
ensure that you're keeping your profits close to mind because it does impact that. And I often say I help attorneys scale their business because it's true. What I do really allows them to have time back in their day. And it's so important because I think that I hear at least once a day how there's not enough time in a day. And there isn't. There isn't.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Casita, I know you've helped many firms do this. What's the best way folks who are thinking, maybe I do have the wrong system, can reach out to you to get a little more help and advice to see maybe is it time for a change?
Yeah, I would encourage you to go to our website, the company website, which is simpson-assoc.com. I have a CRM guide that's accessible to you. You could just put in your name and your email address, and we'll send you over a CRM guide. If you want to speak with us, go to the website. You can fill out a contact form on the contact us page. If you want to call and just have a quick conversation, you can call our office 877-239-0593. If you know that you're not ready to make any kind of decision, then at the very least check out the YouTube channel because that will allow you to see some of the different systems that you could potentially have and use. And you're able to see different things built out as well. And the handle for the YouTube channel is CAS Loves Tech. And after you watch a couple of videos, there's usually a way to book time with me. There's like a booking link right inside of the bio as well.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Casita. It's always
Of
great
course.
jamming with you, and I always learn a lot. If you are interested in looking at new systems, you can go to confidolegal.com/LCM, where you have a worksheet you can fill out, and we'll give you some ideas and a personalized recommendation. There's also a database of legal case management systems there that you can browse as well. And with that, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.